Okay, so welcome back to Close Enough Garage. Although you're going to notice right off the bat that I'm not in my garage, nor am I anywhere near close enough to it. Sometimes I do make house calls. In this case, we have a sick, and I don't mean cool, Benelli 135 TNT. I believe it's a 2020. I'll check the head and see what year it is here in a moment, but the current owner said that he tried to make some adjustments to the height of the hand controls, your brake and your clutch, and all of a sudden the bike wouldn't start anymore. It wouldn't turn over and the dash isn't working right. I showed up here with most of the bike taken apart, so I'll go ahead and grab the camera and I'll bring you guys in close and show you what I've done so far and what I've found so far. Once again, hopefully I helped somebody today, huh? So the first thing you will notice here is that the bike is pretty naked. It's not wearing its plastics right now. The current owner was in the process of changing that over, getting some new gear on it, so he could teach his old lady how to ride. These small bikes, these Groms, the Benelli TNT, they're okay for teaching somebody how to use the basic controls, but I don't really see it being practical to teach somebody how to put a bike on the street and maintain it as a streetable machine. Now, we won't get into that right now. I might make a whole nother episode about that, but for right now, what's important is when I showed up here, first thing I did was I put the key in the ignition, and I noticed that we were getting really weak lighting on the dash. It wasn't lighting up the headlight or the turn signals, which those are LED. That doesn't take a lot of power to do. So that told me I was already going to be getting into what I expected to. I went ahead and tested the battery, which lived in there. And, and I removed the airbox snorkel, the back seat, and the battery hold down. Woo. And I was able to get those out. Now, first thing I did with that was I pulled out my handy multimeter here. These right here, I paid maybe $20 for mine. You can get them as cheap as $10, and it's going to be a good enough solution. They are a vital tool to have for testing and troubleshooting electric issues, battery issues, hunting down any kind of parasitic drain or anything else that you're going to run into with diagnosing the majority of bike problems that you're going to have. So to test the battery, we're going to crank it over to the battery mode there, 9 volt. That's going to tell us what our voltage is. We have positive, negative, black side, red side. So we will hook negative to negative, and I'll go ahead and touch the positive to the positive terminal. Now, 7.86, 7.85. That's going to be the voltage that the battery currently has in it. And that right there is the number one issue we have found, because that is a 12 volt battery. Now, cheap Chinese battery or not, it should work if there's 12 volts in it. Ideally, a charging system should be charging around 13.4 plus volts up to like 14.5 max. But the battery, when healthy, when sitting there, should be somewhere between 12.5 and 13. Typically, I see them around 12.8 volts on a nice, new, healthy battery. So, it's going to be step one. Unfortunately, I'm not finding a battery charger around here, and I don't know what he's got, but I do know, sitting at home, I've got one with a repair mode on it that's going to help bring that voltage back around if we can, and if the battery doesn't have a dead or damaged cell. If the battery is damaged and it can't be revived, obviously we're going to have to get a new one, but I'm going to go ahead and call this our number one culprit to why this bike doesn't seem to be getting power. So we'll take this back home, we'll throw a charge on it, and we'll continue from there and see what's going on with it. First thing you will notice is that we're not out in my garage. I've brought this into my living room because I want to be able to make sure I can monitor it. Right now we've got it running on a repair setting on this charger. By the way, these little units are incredibly handy. They've got the repair setting. They do LiFePO 4, lithium, and your basic lead. I picked it up for about $35-40 if I remember right on that Bald Guy's website. and it's been doing great for me for a couple of years now. I have no complaints. But while we've got it on a repair charge, I want to be able to make sure I've got this battery sitting right in front of me and that it's not going to do anything out of character besides bring itself back to a full charge. So that way, with it sitting right in front of me, if I need to, I can just rip open the front door and throw it out into the front yard, call the guy and be like, hey, buy a new battery, it's junk. So I could do this out in my garage, but honestly, I want to sit in here where it's nice and warm and comfortable and watch a little bit of TV while I monitor this. So we'll check back in a little bit. We'll see what it's doing, how it's doing. Right now, I just started it, so it's on pulse and repair. Hopefully we can bring this back around and be able to save the bike's owner a little bit of money, huh? So we are back at the Benelli. It's now the next day. Had to wait for the guy to get a new battery. That clearly was one issue because now you turn the key. The whole dash lights up as well. You push this, you can hear the fuel pump start. But the problem is, even with the clutch pulled in, pushing the button there, and we have no crank. He is convinced it's in the handlebar switches, and I'm convinced that might be a good place to start. So we're going to go ahead and replace switch for switch, brand new OEM equipment. The reason I say that is I have tested the clutch safety switch here for function test. Put your multimeter on continuity, pick either prong, and put one prong on one on the other. Pull the clutch in. If that works, if it's in good order, then you'll get a continuity beep on your multimeter. Same thing with the neutral and the kickstand safety switch. I've done both of those and checked, and they seem to be working. So we're going to go ahead and swap this out real quick now. I'm going to show you on the bottom because I want both hands to work. You got focus. Got a screw here. You'll have another one down here. Those two screws come out. Your throttle cable assembly sits right in there, so that'll come out with it. You just literally pop that switch off. Take out the two dashboard bolts right there and right there. And you have the plug for your dash switch right there, or your right side handlebar switch right there. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that whole assembly, and then we will give the bike another try and see what's going on with it. And this will be another happy customer, and I love to see this. All right, so we talked about replacing that right side handlebar switch. The reason being, the guy said that he moved the hand controls on both sides just a little bit, and all of a sudden it quit starting. It quit turning over, but he had all the dash lights that he was supposed to. So that tells me, as I've said before, it's probably something in the handlebar switches. So we went ahead and swapped that out. I've turned it on just for a test. I'm going to do this one-handed somehow, so that's on. Now I'm going to reach out and touch the start button down here. Beautiful. So I got some plastics to put on. I've got some mirrors to put on, and obviously the front end to put back together. But we have a good running little Benelli. Awesome. Okay, we got the little guy back together. I did actually try to drive it around his driveway, and guys, at 6'1" and 235 pounds, this is not a bike I need to be sitting on. I felt like Donkey Kong, but that's fine. He got it for his old lady to learn how to ride on, and I think she'll do just fine with it. It does start up every single time, no issues. I did go ahead and get new fairings on it. I'm sorry, it's very dark in this garage, very hard, hard to see. Couple of parts mishaps. He did get a new clutch perch. You can see this is busted off here where the mirror would mount. And the clutch perch that is on this bike and the one he got are nowhere near similar. So we're going to have to hunt down some correct parts. That's fine. Same thing over here. The standoff for the mirror and the threads on the mirror are not even close to matching. So it's all right. It's not a big deal. A couple of small things that pretty much anybody can button up on their own, but this bike is good to go. It is rideable, and it's safe, and everything works well on it. So we can rest happy at that. I usually would stand before the camera and thank you guys, but it's so dark in here that you're not going to see much of me anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and just say, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And hopefully we've managed to help somebody else out today. Huh? Y'all be safe out there.